Okay, so we've got some interesting intel reports to dig into today
Right, yeah.
about North Korean troops stationed in Russia facing, get this, food shortages.
Yeah.
It sounds like a very strange situation to me.
Hmm.
North Korean soldiers fighting in Ukraine
Right.
and struggling to get basic supplies.
Yeah,
I think it's really worth taking a deep dive to see what this seemingly small detail might reveal about the bigger picture of the conflict.
absolutely. I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah, I mean,
It might seem like a minor issue,
right.
but it speaks to something much larger, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is the crucial role of logistics in warfare. I
Yes.
mean, supplying troops with food, equipment, and maintaining their morale.
Right.
Those are all fundamental,
Right.
especially in a prolonged conflict like we're seeing in Ukraine.
It's like that old saying, an army marches on its stomach.
Exactly.
You can have the best battle plans in the world,
Right.
but if your soldiers are, hungry, demoralized,
Yeah,
it's going to impact their fighting ability.
absolutely.
And these reports
Yeah.
indicate that Russia had to deploy Major General Mevlyutov
Oh, wow.
to deal with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And he's a high-ranking officer responsible for, resources in the Leningrad military district.
So they're sending someone pretty high up to take care of this problem.
Exactly.
Huh.
I mean, that shows how serious this is.
Yeah, this isn't
This isn't just like, oh, we forgot to pack a few extra sandwiches.
right, exactly. This is a real problem.
Yeah, it's just a strain on Russia's ability to sustain its military operations.
Yeah, and you have to wonder, how much they're relying on
Right.
foreign troops like those from North Korea,
Yeah,
maybe more than they'd like to admit.
it's an interesting point.
Yeah.
So these hungry soldiers,
Mm-hmm.
they're stationed in Kursk,
Right.
which has seen some really intense fighting and is basically at a standstill now.
Yeah, it's been a real back and forth.
So could these supply issues be contributing to that stalemate?
It's certainly a factor worth considering, right?
Right.
I mean, if Russia's struggling to maintain basic supplies for their allied troops,
Yeah.
it raises questions about their overall capacity to
Right.
support a prolonged offensive in the region.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings up another question.
Yeah.
Why are North Korean soldiers fighting in Ukraine in the first place?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, it's not like they're right next door.
No, not at all.
What's the connection there?
So, the Russia-North Korea relationship, it's complicated.
Right.
It stems from mutual needs and shared interests, right? North Korea is isolated.
Yeah.
Under heavy sanctions,
Right.
they're looking for economic and military aid from Russia.
Right. So Russia is kind of a lifeline for them.
Exactly. And in return,
Yeah.
Russia, which is facing its own international pressure and potential manpower shortages. Right.
Finds a willing ally in North Korea.
It's like this kind of
Yeah.
geopolitical barter system.
That's a good way to put it.
Both sides getting something they need from the other.
Yeah.
But what happens when,
Right.
one side can't uphold their end of the bargain? Like,
Yeah.
Ensuring their allies are fed.
Exactly.
What does that say about Russia's military strength?
I mean, it raises some serious questions, right?
Yeah.
About the long-term sustainability of their war effort if they're struggling to provide basic supplies, even for, allied troops.
Right.
It suggests a vulnerability, a crack in that image of military might they've projected.
Okay, so we started with this seemingly small detail about food shortages among North Korean troops in Ukraine.
Right.
And look where we ended up.
Yeah.
We're talking about logistics, alliances,
Absolutely.
and the real cost of war.
Yeah. I mean, it really shows how...
How interconnected all of this is.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. This situation, though it might seem isolated,
Yeah,
has some really broad implications.
it does. Did you
Right.
say? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, this partnership between Russia and North Korea, I mean, who knows what kind of ramifications it could have,
Right.
extending, beyond the immediate conflict in Ukraine.
Absolutely.
It could, really impact the whole geopolitical landscape
Mm-hmm.
in the region and, who knows, maybe even beyond.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me how these seemingly minor details can reveal so much about the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
So for everyone listening, I really want you to think about this.
Yeah.
What do you think the long-term implications of this partnership might be?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Not just for the conflict in Ukraine,
Right.
but globally.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely something to keep in mind as we continue to follow the developments in this war.
Absolutely. A lot to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good place to wrap up for today.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time.